You may be seated. Shabbat Shalom. Did you just check your watch? I'll give a quick introduction for those of you who are not normally with us on a Shabbat morning. Whenever I refer to in the past, or I have in the past referred to a guy named Robert Oliver, he was the analytical type for the bully. And then there was the brainiac in our class. Her name was Carol Schiller. Today I'll be talking about Carol Schiller. You know of the student who, as soon as the teacher asks a question, Carol's hand would go up. And that always pleased me to no end because it meant that they weren't going to call on me. But what happened was that Carol always raised her hand first for everything. Even before the question came out, she would have her hand up. Yeah, look at everybody's saying, oh, I know, that was so-and-so in my class, right? Yeah, everybody knows them, and none of us are them. But in any case, the teacher would ask for a volunteer, and Carol Schiller's hand would go up. And immediately upon the teacher calling on somebody other than Carol Schiller, you could see her face. Complete and utter devastation. How come I wasn't the one chosen? And you could see it in her face. And as much as I felt joy in not being called upon, I have to be honest with you, I was equally joyful that she didn't get called on. Because truthfully, I was a little sick of Carol Schiller. Now, I can say that today because she lives in Seattle and she'll never see this. We have streaming, but she doesn't have the password. Oh, Carol Schiller, the devastation she felt upon not being called upon. Look, you're struggling. I see it. No, seriously, Maddie, was it you? It was you, Maddie. All right. So there was this girl, Maddie, in my class. But you know how it is, right? How you desperately want to do something, you volunteer, you call, you write, you say, I want to be involved, and then there is deafening silence on the other end. And you don't get called upon, and you feel somewhat sad. You put yourself out there. You say, I want to be the one. I can do this. Throw me the ball at the end of the game with 2 seconds on the shot clock. And then it doesn't get passed to you. And you feel upset. And then you look over at the person who's chosen and you say to yourself, what do they have that I don't have? Why did they get picked and not me? And we all know that feeling because sometimes it takes tremendous courage to stand up and say, I want to do something. I want to volunteer. I want to give of myself. And when that gift is not received, we're upset. And that makes perfectly good sense. And that reminds me of what happens in this morning's parsha. The rabbis have this extraordinary imagination about a conversation that takes place between Moses and Aaron. And the rabbis imagine that while the tabernacle was being built, Moses, before the installation of his brother Aaron as the high priest, was the one going around doing all the temple work, offering sacrifices and bringing gifts. And then it happens that God turns to Moses and he says, V'akrevi lecha aron achicha, call your brother Aaron to come be the high priest. And the rabbis imagine a moment of shock on Moses' face. What are you talking about? I brought him out of Egypt. I didn't want to do this job. You found me wandering in the desert from a burning bush and you called me and I said, I don't want to do it, let Aaron do it. And God says, no, it's going to be you. You're going to bring the Jewish people out of Egypt. You're going to be the focal point. It's going to be you on whose back they rely. And then God says to Moses, now it's Aaron's turn. And Moses, according to the rabbis, is completely shocked. He can't believe it. It's not him. That God hasn't called upon him to lead the worship in the tabernacle. And God sees Moses' face drop. his countenance goes lower. And he says to Moses, according to the Midrash, "Tehei savur ba'atzmacha shata mishamesh b'kuna." You really thought you were going to be the one who was going to be the high priest? It wasn't enough to lead the Jewish people out of Egypt. It wasn't enough that you became the greatest prophet ever to exist in the history of humanity. It wasn't enough that you stood up to Pharaoh, but you also thought you were going to be the high priest? To which HaKadosh Baruch Hu reminds Moses of Aaron's response when Moses was selected as leader in the first place. Instead of Aaron getting angry in that moment, when Moses says, "I need you to come and stand beside me, be my spokesperson for me," Aaron says, "Sure, I'll help out in whatever way I can." Now, I have brothers, and I know I'm usually the focus of attention. My mom's here, she'll tell you. I mean, when it wasn't her. Oh. And so I can imagine what it feels like for brothers to be in the shadow. When a light shines so bright, you can imagine how difficult it is to be in the shadow. But Aaron never does that. Aaron says, "Whatever you need of me, I'll step forward at the time when you call upon me." And so the rabbis say, in the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the words of the Almighty, "Moses, have a little joy in this moment of Aaron's 15 minutes of fame." And they say the following words. Aaron, in this moment, says to his brother Moshe, "Kishem shesamachti li bigdola, kach ani samech bigdulatcha." Just as I was happy for you in that moment when you were selected, Moses, be happy for me now. This is my moment. There is going to be tragedy on the horizon, no question about it. We all suffer great difficulties, challenges, obstacles, sadness, tragedy. But in this one moment, Aaron, through the words of the rabbi, says, "Just be happy for me right now. It doesn't have to always be about you. I was happy when you were selected King of the Jews. Now be happy that I've been selected priest, the high priest of the Jews." It's a partnership. We need each other. Be joyful in me the way I was joyful in you. And that's the simple lesson for today. The lesson the rabbis teach us through this morning's parsha of what could potentially be sibling rivalry. We have a Torah that is replete with examples of brothers hurting each other. Cain kills Abel. Joseph's brothers throw him in a pit. Esau can't get along with Yaakov. We see example after example of brothers who can't get along, sibling rivalry that results sometimes in death, oftentimes in complete separation. So rabbis say, Moses and Aaron, be an example to us. Be joyful in each other's achievements. If you can find some way to put yourself aside, to contract yourself just a little, and not have to suck up all the air in the room, and be happy for me once, you'll find that you have given an extraordinary gift. The lesson for us this morning is wonderful, and that is we should celebrate the achievements of each other and not always think it's about us. We should sometimes in our lives say to ourselves, "Wow, I'm so proud of you. You make me happy to be associated with you. Your achievement is wonderful." Because guess what? On the horizon lies difficulty and challenge and sadness. So experience the joy when it comes along. Suppress the jealousy. Put push out the envy and say to yourself, I'm truly happy for you. We live in a world that challenges us all the time. The triumphs and the joys in our world right now seem to be far and few between. So when they occur, don't let them be overridden by sadness or sorrow, by jealousy or petty strife. Celebrate the achievements of your family, of your friends, of your colleagues. If you can do that, then they will honestly be able to celebrate yours as well. And then we'll have a world in which we truly appreciate each other. Shabbat Shalom.